Grand afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday, February 15th, 2026, 1500 hours in the afternoon, Central Standard Time here in the United States. And we have quite a few different things to talk about here. More so, learning here today. There are a few headlines and certain things to talk about, though. We will start with this. I do agree with that. Everything is about to collapse. That is very imminent. And then we have Poland's president, Karol Nawrocki, says the country should consider developing its own nuclear weapons. That's from Defense Index. And there's a chance that the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, flees Iran within the next month or so, though I don't think the U.S. will allow that. He may try. I don't believe the U.S. will allow him to leave Iran. The moment he exposes himself enough, becomes vulnerable enough, the U.S. will take him out, or Israel will. They're very good at doing that. Uh, he's going to be taken out, or they're going to capture him, one or the other, if he becomes vulnerable enough. More like when he becomes vulnerable enough, that will happen. And then let's see here. Price of gold is still over $5,000 per ounce. It is at $5,042 per ounce. Once again, this is not a sponsored website, and this is initially a live stream recording that is posted to the live section of my YouTube channel. And then we have the price of silver has gone up a little. It is going up slowly, though steadily. That will reach over $100 an ounce. I would say this week it'll likely do that. By the end of this week, we will see. It will go up to over $100 per ounce very soon, though. Though gold is still at that apocalyptic over $5,000 per ounce. Now back to here. Let's talk about radiation, fallout, exposure. Those are all very important things to know, especially for the potential of total nuclear war that may be very imminent. A lot of people don't expect that as much, though. When it comes to Iran, China for sure will get involved shortly after, and potentially the Russians later on. And that's how things escalate to that very quickly. And I do believe Iran has nuclear weapons of their own. They've had them for months at least now. So as we could see here, fallout is measured primarily by dose rate, how fast radiation is delivered in Roentgens per hour, R per hour, or milliroentgens per hour. For gamma rays, the main hazard, 1 rad, REM, absorbed by in biological dose, that's a REM. That's the main hazard, rads. Gamma rays from radiation. Then there's international equivalents, grays. For absorbed dose, 1 gray is 100 rads. Then there's sieverts. For equivalent dose, 1 sievert is 100 rems. Rems are below rads, if I read this right. I do know of rads and grays. 1 gray is likely enough to unalive someone. That is a lot of radiation. Let's see here. Dangerous is 10 rads per hour. Shelter immediately. And there's that threshold. It's weird how it wrote it like that. Fallout basics. Moving on. Radioactive particles, sand-like from a nuclear blast. The primary threat is external gamma radiation or ground shine. Not inhalation, ingestion early on. It decays extremely fast. About 50% of radiation emitted in the first hour. 50% or less, I think. Let's see. Decreases. It decays extremely fast. Less than 50% of radiation emitted in the first hour. It goes down by 80% in the first day. Heaviest local fallout is downwind, within 10 to 20 miles. Key rule: 7 to 10 ratio, or rule of thumb. Dose rate drops by a factor of 10 every 7-fold increase in time after detonation. Example, if 1,000 rads or per hour at 1 hour, 7 hours, 100 rads per hour. 49 hours, about 2 days, goes to 10 rads per hour. We're talking about the dose rate drops here. After 2 weeks, 14 days, it goes to about a rad an hour. This guides when it's safer to emerge. So that's likely just over 2 weeks. There's no radiation, not much. It's a lot lower after about 2 weeks, or even 2 days if you go in certain areas. If you go far enough away after 2 days, very quickly, it could even be safe then. Though let's see what this says here. Exposure effects, acute radiation syndrome. Let me find this. ARS, acute radiation syndrome, exposure effects. 0 to 50 rem, there's none or minimal effects. Normal outcome, no advanced care needed. 50 to 100 rem, mild nausea possible. Still, it's strange how it put good for the second one, though not the first. It says normal for 0 to 50. It should be normal for the second. 100 to 200 rems, sickness, nausea, fatigue, low WBC, whatever that is. Low mortality rate for 100 to 200. So there's a low chance of unaliving, 100 to 200. Then 2 to 400 rem, severe sickness, bleeding, 10 to 50% lethal. 400 LD 50 by 30, 50% or 50% die and unalive in 30 days. 400 rem, 50% lethal, about half die, unalive, in 30 days with that exposure to acute radiation syndrome. Now it gets much more severe. It's not so acute then. 600 dose REM, GI CNS damage. It's usually fatal. 600 REM. So long term, especially with very high exposure to radiation, increased cancer risk proportional to dose, about 0.06% per REM lifetime fatal cancer risk. How long to stay inside? Get inside as soon as possible. Basement or center of sturdy building. Brick and concrete is best. You have 10 to 20 minutes or so before the fallout itself arrives. 20 minutes tops, I would say. I think most people say 15. Stay inside a minimum of 1 day, 24 hours. The radiation drops dramatically as we looked here. After 2 days, it goes to 10 per hour. You want to stay inside a minimum of 1 day, as it says there, minimum 1 day. Radiation drops dramatically. Recommendation, the recommended is 48 to 72 hours or until outdoor rate, until 48 to 72 hours or until outdoor rate goes to 10 or less rads per hour, or officials say it's safe, though there won't be officials to say it's safe. So after 2 to 3 days, I would say 3 days, potentially one after a day. Uh, I would say 2 days if you're going to go as fast as you possibly can to a further away spot and everything is planned. You know exactly where you're going and how to get there. 2 days, 3 days to be real safe. What's even better is a week or two staying inside your fallout shelter. If you're in a heavy fallout area, then you also must limit your outdoor time during that time. Shelter in the most protected spot. Seal doors, windows, shut off HVAC. Radiation decays so fast that waiting saves lives. Let's see here. This is an interesting display. Individual action. Family shelters. Families living in rural or sparsely settled areas may find that family shelters are the only feasible solution to their fallout shelter problem. Others may have personal preferences for family shelters. There are a number of ways to construct home shelters. Several types are shown here. All of the shelters shown here can be built with about, this is an old diagram, I believe. These are old pictures, with about $150 worth of materials or less. If materials such as lumber used in a basement lean to shelter are available at little to no cost. Okay. Some persons could build these shelters for considerably less than $150. This is definitely maybe a very old display here. In all of the shelters, the danger from fallout would be at least 100 times less than to unprotected persons. Construction drawings on these and other family shelters can be obtained by following the instructions on the last page. Okay, this is from a booklet, an old booklet. In selecting shielding material for any shelter, sand or earth can be substituted for concrete or brick, but for each inch of solid masonry, you need 1.5 inches of sand or earth. Adding shielding material to a shelter will improve the protection offered by the shelter, but it may also increase the cost of the shelter. The sand-filled lean-to-basement shelter. Okay, it says this sand-filled lean-to-basement shelter will accommodate 3 persons. The house itself gives partial shielding. Sandbags are used to block the end of the shelter. Okay, so they set up a whole interesting small concrete shelter there, using sand and concrete. Those are some of the best shelter materials: sand, concrete, um, brick. I believe it said that somewhere too. Let's see. I thought it did. I was quite sure it did. Though you don't need to make everything to that extent, it is very good if you can. I was watching something recently. You could use the materials all throughout the house. You want to seal off everything, such as those doors and windows, as it says there. Shelter in the most protected spots. Seal doors, windows, shut off HVAC. Radiation decays so fast that waiting saves lives. So, sheltering, especially most places in the South, in the center of a house, making the shelter there, or even a bedroom, though more the better thing to do would likely be in the center of the house. Further surviving. Let's see. Oh, decontaminate. I believe that's what it's referring to. Remove outer clothes. That's a 90% reduction if you get some of the fallout dust on you. Shower, wipe skin, hair. Do the same for everyone entering the shelter. That's another thing. Do not let anyone or even yourself go back into the shelter with the fallout on. It must be left outside or outside, quite far away from the shelter anyway, to decontaminate. Then all of those things need to be washed or destroyed that got heavily contaminated after a while. So during the time of being in the shelter, you want to just use the same clothing. Don't go outdoor and get it even contaminated. Uh, you want to get new clothing shortly after venturing out to further survival. Then there's potassium iodide tablets. Those are always highly recommended. Uh, about 130 milligrams for an adult daily for days. first few days or so after. Blocks radioactive iodine to the thyroid. Useful if I-131 is present, but less critical for bomb fallout than reactor accidents. They're not necessary to have potassium iodide tablets. You don't want to be anywhere near that close to have to use that. That's for people who live quite close to major targets. Supplies have over 2 weeks, 2 weeks or more, sealed food, water. You want to have, let's read this here. 2 weeks, over 2 weeks, sealed food, water, battery radio, Geiger counter is ideal. Wipe cans before opening. Avoid fresh outdoor items initially. Long term, follow officials. Brief outdoor there's no okay. Brief outdoor trips after 2 weeks if rates low. Monitor cumulative dose. Cancer risk rises with exposure, but sheltering keeps it manageable. You want to definitely minimize absolute exposure to radiation overall. Core principle: time, wait for decay, then distance, shielding equals survival. Time, distance, shielding equals survival. You want to stay informed way beforehand via emergency alerts like this. Um, this is for a single detonation. Multiple would be worse. Prep now. Yes. Uh, there's not going to be uh, officials saying anything. They're going to likely be dead somewhere, or not able to even get messages out like that. Very unlikely to hear from any officials, even those first days. They'll be in their own bunkers surviving in places like Cheyenne Mountain. That'll be one of the only places there's possibly officials alive, is Cheyenne Mountain in Denver. Not Denver. Yeah, I think it's Denver. It's in Colorado, not so much Denver. It's in Colorado, Cheyenne Mountain. Let's see here. Cheyenne Mountain Complex. This is a short version. It's a massive military. It's a massive underground military bunker carved into solid granite in Cheyenne Mountain near Colorado Springs, Colorado. Built during the Cold War. Built from around 1961 to 66. Fully operational in 1967 at a cost of about 142 million back then dollars. It was designed as NORAD's main command center to survive a direct nuclear blast up to multi-megaton range from 1 to 1.5 miles away. It's buried under 2,000 feet of granite for extreme protection against blasts, radiation, EMP, chemical/biological attacks. It has giant 25-ton blast doors, airtight, multiple sets, seal the entrance tunnel. About 15 buildings inside on giant springs to absorb shock. Self-contained power plants, water reservoirs, living quarters could operate independently for extended periods of time. let's see here. Originally, the primary NORAD U.S. Northcom Operations Center for Aerospace and Aerospace Missile Warning and Defense. Current status as of the last year and this year, no longer the main day-to-day HQ. That moved to Peterson Space Force Base in 2006 to 2008 for cost efficiency. That's interesting. So it was moved to Peterson Space Force Base. Well, now it's a Space Force base. That was before the Space Force came along, 2006 and 8. Used to be an Air Force base, I think. Now serves as alternate command center. So Cheyenne Mountain now serves as an alternate command center for NORAD and U.S. Northcom. Backup if the primary is compromised. It's also a training site for crew qualification. Still fully maintained, modernized over the past decade, and renamed Cheyenne Mountain Space Force Station. It is highly secure, not open to public tours, used in continuity of government scenarios. An example, potential presidential relocation site in nuclear crisis. So the president and top officials will be going to Cheyenne Mountain very likely soon. In a fallout nuclear scenario, tying to my earlier questions, it's one of the most protected spots on Earth, far superior to typical shelters due to depth, shielding, and blast resistance. But it's military only, military and top government officials. No civilians can access it. So civilians can't access it. So it's a very important thing to know. Radiation, fallout, exposure, how long to stay indoors. Once again, you could see there 7 to 10 rule, the ratio, rule of thumb. This is for, once again, a single blast, it seems. By that logic, once again, you want to stay indoors, especially if you're far away from the blast. You want to stay indoors for 2 or 3 days and then go venturing out, further surviving the post-apocalyptic world that is coming. It's going to be very difficult to do so, though it is not impossible, and you just need to follow these things to survive if it goes nuclear, which is a small possibility right now, though it may become more likely as time goes on and the Russians and the Chinese get more involved. One of the main threats, once again, is fallout itself. The fallout, the sand like radioactive particles that happen after the blasts, the nuclear blasts, the nuclear explosions. So it is great to know all of these things. Keep on preparing, especially for this scenario that very well could happen, especially as time goes on. It may become far more likely that it does happen like that, though it will be likely survivable due to governments of the world knowing not to destroy everything and launch every nuclear weapon. They will likely do precise strikes, tactical nuclear strikes on military targets and other strategic targets, not on just anything and everywhere. That will be all for today. Let's see here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will be back soon with further updates, especially when it comes to the war to do with Iran initially. And then once again, I do believe very strongly the Chinese will become involved shortly after. Keep on preparing, learning, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Love, light, and blessings to you all. Thanks for watching once again.